Welcome back to another episode, Real Talking ELT. I want to look at the business side of things today. So, I've got some opinions. Due to recent events, I have opinions and I need to think through this. Um I am no longer affiliated with any school specifically. Uh which is fine. It's actually turned into kind of a blessing for me, to be honest. So because I've left the administrative side of education, I've got some takeaways. Got some takeaways. I've I've done well, let's go back a little bit. So since 2017, I've been working as a consultant for schools to help them with teacher train. I have to say it's been mostly teacher training because my whole career up until now has been working towards training teachers. Like, I'm not interested in doing anything else. I'm not interested in becoming a millionaire and running things and becoming like super. I like teachers. I like being in the classroom. I was talking to uh I'm gonna call him a center owner because there's it's like a school owner, but he has a teacher training center too. And we were just chatting back and forth and exchanging experiences, and he goes, "You seem to be a practitioner at heart." And I was like, "Yes, that is probably the best statement, the best like synopsis that you could have of me is that I am a practitioner. I'm certainly not an academic. I can dabble in academics. I can comprehend and I can read academic texts and things like that. I can get through those papers and I can understand when they do research and whatever. I don't really like academia, I have to say. It's just not a thing for me. Like it seems, and this is not to be pretentious, me being pretentious, but it feels pretentious there. And like, I don't want to be prejudicial either, but it seems like a little pretentious, like in academia, because you have to, I don't know. I don't know. It just seems not me. It's like not my vibe, which I think is fine because and the reason I say it seems pretentious to me is because it's just not my vibe. Like I am, as you might have noticed, unpolished. I say what I want. I'm obviously not trying to offend people, but like, I just kind of like put my opinion out there. Like, let's have a chat. But yeah, it's not academia. It's not for me. I appreciate it though. That's a weird thing about it is that like I have some of the highest regard for academics because I think they do important work. But I know that the space that they occupy and the space that I occupy are two different spaces. I am practitioner all the way. I like doing things. I like action. I like the chaos of being in the classroom and doing all the things that related to that. So I think and that, I mean, pretentious, I think is a bad word for it. I think polished is the best. It's just like, you're too polished for me. And I can't, I can control myself in that type of environment for a specific amount of time, but at some point, I'm gonna have to whether you like it or not, I'm gonna have to let the personality out a little bit. Yeah, so academia is not for me. And I've recently learned that I think I could do it, but I just don't want to. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Another thing that I've realized that I can do it, and I just don't want to, is being on the administrative side of education. Because the administrative side of education is, let me put this in a nice way. Do you know that meme of the woman who's like, be nice? And she's like, I'm finding it. I'm fine. It's like takes you that long to find it. It's like, yeah, hang on, I'm finding it. Yeah. Let me see how I'm going to phrase this. I don't like the the administrative side of education because I think it borders the line of putting the learning experience and learning process into boxes, confining things for profit. You're never going to find a bigger capitalist than me. I love capitalism. Sorry, I do. I think it's a good thing. I think if you work for something, you get paid for it, and then you can go off and use your money doing whatever you want. I think that system, in my mind, it works. I don't know. Maybe it's not working for everybody. Clearly, it's not working for everybody. But until we find a better system, I don't know. Like, I enjoy making money. I enjoy using my money to do whatever I want with it. So, like, I'm not against making money off of education. What I am against completely against, is exploiting education for monetary gains. Because I think let me break this down to you. The reason that I say that I'm a capitalist is because if I provide you a service, I'm spending my energy, all of my thoughts and time is the thing that's most precious to me because I want more time to myself to hang out with my husband and do the things that I want to do. So that is like the biggest commodity of mine is time. So if I'm taking time out of my schedule to do something for you that's valuable for you and you compensate me with paying for it, I think it needs to be a fair exchange, meaning I think that I should feel that I'm being compensated properly. Like this, yes, for the amount of work that I do, here's the amount of money that I'm receiving. And for the amount of money that you're paying me, you should see the value in that. And if you don't see the value in that, please don't pay me. And you can find somebody else that can do the work for you that fits your budget and you feel aligns with the value that you've assigned to whatever the work is. So like I just feel like it should be a very honest, ethical, and fair exchange. That's my view. So I just think that's how it should work. That being said, in education, we can't, like, it's not something that is tangible always, right? So we offer these services for people and they pay us for the services. And we think that the services have this value and the students have to think that that value is, it matches the deliverables that we say that we're going to deliver. And that's the hard part about education is because you say you're going to deliver something, then by the end of the course or by the end of the year or by the end of the semester or whatever, hopefully the student feels that you've given them those deliverables. This is where, and I'm okay with that. I'm super okay with this. Up until now, I'm okay with the administrative part of education. Where I get lost is that schools want to have the highest profit possible because they want to survive. They need to pay the bills, they need to pay their administrators, they need to pay the employees, they need to pay for all of the other services that go into it, like they have systems and things like that. So they need to pay for all of those things. I get it. But I also think you can't exploit things. And this is where I had a post about sleazy salesmen, and this is where that came from, because it's just like in education, the administrative part of it, and I think this is where where teacherpreneurs, if you want to use that term, or like teachers who build their own businesses, I think this is where they struggle, because if you're on the pedagogical side of it and you say like, okay, I've created this like really incredible course or way of teaching or materials or something like that, like you see all of the value in that, and hopefully the students do too. And then when students start like negotiating with teachers about prices of monthly stuff, so then that's where it gets a little complicated. And usually teachers, especially if they're independent, they're freelancers, they'll like take the discount and stuff like that. But what they don't realize is like every time you take a discount, all of those hours and the time you spent and everything you put into it, like you're reducing it down to hopefully something that is compensating for the amount of effort that you put into it, but I don't know. But what I see with like big organizations, I'm talking like huge organizations like franchises and things like that, right? Like big organizations like that, they're not as in touch with focusing on bringing more value to students. They're focusing on bringing higher prices to students. Higher prices always, but not necessarily more value. And there's a lot of things that frustrate me about that type of model, because I think schools will always have an audience. You might not have hundreds of thousands in your, in your client pool, we can say, but you're always going to have an audience. Now, the audience, the size of the audience depends on the perceived value of the services that you're delivering. So students are willing to pay more when the perceived value of the services is higher. And what I've noticed, and one of the things that this is why I don't think I'm built for administration, is that I'm always going to advocate for improvements in the pedagogical department, which would be more resources, materials, training for teachers, and better learning experience for students. And whatever tools, platforms, whatever, if you're investing in the learning experience, I think you can justify charging more. But if you're investing in other shit, I don't know what other shit it might be, but other stuff, then the students, beyond the inflation rate of year to year that we have, beyond inflating costs of living and everything else, students are not going to just keep paying increasing prices and increasing prices and increasing prices like that. You're going to cap out at one point. But if your prices are so high that you're distancing yourself from the public because they don't see the perceived value of the services that you're offering, the services are not changing, not improving. It's the same as every other experience. If it has one or two differentials, but on the whole, you're not really improving the learning experience, like how they interact with teachers and materials and things like that. If you're not focused on that, you're only focused on more money, marketing and sales, other stuff, like it just doesn't align for me. And this is why I think that administration is not for me. I think that it's probably for some people. I think some people can certainly be in school administrations and feel very comfortable about balancing the demands of the business with the demands of the learning experience. But I think there's like this critical point there where you're always going to have people fighting about it, kind of, not fighting, but just like confronting each other about it. Because I again, let me just go into the whole thing again. I'm a practitioner. Like the place that I feel most comfortable, the place that I love is the classroom or the training room. Classroom or training room, that's where I am. I'm not interested in like being in, like meetings with people that like they have nothing to do with me. Like I'm not interested in that. Like, do you want to know about the learning experience, the classroom, the teachers, like material, like you want to learn about any of that stuff? Like I'm game. I will hang out with you for God knows how long and I'll just chill with you and we certainly can have that experience. But my whole thing is like I'm not interested in looking at like it's so weird because I love business, but I don't like the business of education. I think it just needs to change a little bit. I really do love business. Like, I think business is very interesting, but I think there's a way of growing businesses, growing schools to a point where they grow organically, not forced, not contrived and feeling this way. And they grow organically because students who find them align with them. I think that's where I'm trying to go here. It's a bit like, I don't even know if anybody's listening to this, but students who find those schools align with the schools, and then their circle of friends then probably are getting recommended to go to there too and stuff like that, because the experience that they have in the schools, they see the value in it. The perceived value is in line with the prices of the classes, and that's it. And that's it. And like I just am always, whenever I think about like the business of education, like I always think about like what are you giving to these people? Like what is the deliverable? What do they get out of paying you for these services? And if you can tell me, clearly define that, and then say, well, what type of person typically wants these type of services? That's your target audience right there. And everything else around it, I think, comes secondary. But like the main part for me is like the part of the business that's the most important part of the business is the two components that are always engaged in the learning experience, like teachers and students. Maybe I have a warped view of this because I'm a practitioner, like, and I just see this as like, this is what the students get out of this, and this is what, the teachers provide in this scenario. But yeah, so I've come to these the realizations of 2025. I guess this is more of a therapy session than anything else. But what I've come to conclude is that I think English teachers need to decide where do you fit? Where do you fit in? Where do you fit in? Because as I see it, there are academics who can be teachers too, but they're academics, and they're all of their being is drawn towards the academia of education, that whole scenario of research and theory and things like that. So like you're an academic teacher. Not like I only teach for like academic purposes. I'm saying like you're an academic, like that's where your soul is kind of drawn to. I think that there's practitioners like me that just love the chaos of the classroom and love that whole messy environment and kind of figuring your way out through that. And then, from there, like you should always stay close to that process, stay close to that environment. And I think that there's some teachers that like the organization and business side of education, where you see it as something that can grow and you can build and then you can create something off of that. And I think that that's fine, as well as if you're doing it ethically, then you do whatever. If you're doing it unethically, then that's your problem too. But like, if you're doing it ethically, then that's fine. But people who like really enjoy like the organization and create like that type of thing, like scheduling and dealing with contracts and parents and all of that good stuff. That's not me. Not me. Because I think that there's here's why these three profiles that I've there might be more. I'm just like kind of I'm just kind of throwing these out there as like the things that I've kind of dabbled in and like gone back and like, oh, okay, because this is kind of these three categories so far that I've identified. Like the academic people are like, uh, they see themselves as like mini how do I say this, like mini philosophers almost, like they want information and to like rattle the information around and come to conclusions off of the information. They're very it's very like cerebral. I guess you can say that. Like they like to stay in their heads, which is cool. That's fine. We need people like that. That's not a big deal. I think the practitioner group is very action based and reactive. I'm super reactive, so not in a good way sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so like action based and reactive, where you have to kind of be the problem solver, you know, that type of quick on your feet type of deal. But I also see the creativity and being like close to the classroom and creating things and developing. So I think there's a little bit of creativity in there too. And then the administrative people who feel comfortable, like I'm talking about teachers too. Teachers who feel comfortable in like more administrative roles. Um, let's be honest, some of them just like the title because they feel important. But I think that they like to organize things, put things into boxes, try to create boundaries for things and make things more tangible, trying to make the intangible tangible. So if that makes any sense. In the end, my general opinion here is that teachers need to find what fits. I went on the path of CELTA, advanced methodology, Delta, with the intentions of maybe taking a master's in applied linguistics. I quickly threw that out. I don't think a master's in applied linguistics is going to help me in the direction that I'm going. Because I got a brain, it works, but I'm not, you know, like as cerebral as the academics want to, you know, they really thrive in that environment and it would be too much inaction for me. Not that they don't do anything. I'm not saying that. It's not, you know what I mean. I like the classroom. And then I also toyed with the idea recently of going back and getting a master's in business, like in administration and things like that. I think I've recently discarded that. Recently, I mean in the 23 minutes I've been having this conversation here. I've discarded that idea too, because if I were to go the more administrative route, like business, I would be forced into that uncomfortable, for me, it's an uncomfortable balance of trying to put boundaries onto things that I actually don't think have boundaries. It goes kind of against my teaching philosophy principles, like things that I believe about education. I would always be frustrated and stressed out because I would be kind of banging on the wall of making things profitable and appeasing, you know, the gods of the school or whatever, of how much profit they're going to make and how much money they're going to make, but also kind of sacrificing my own vision of what education is and what education should be. So I think I've discarded that as well. I don't think that applied linguistics is for me, but I also don't think that anything administrative or business focused is is good for me. But I need to continue growing and building and being creative and contributing something to the practitioner side, which is the important side for me of being in the classroom, creating, developing, organizing things that are beneficial for students, and just kind of staying in that organized chaos of working with teachers, working with students, and seeing the progress and seeing the interaction firsthand. So this is what the conclusion that I've kind of come to is that when we're thinking about where we land, sometimes people get really focused on titles and like, oh, you're gonna be this, or you're gonna be the coordinator. You're gonna be like, yeah, I don't think that that's the right way. I think that we have to find the spaces that we feel the most comfortable. I'm certainly not an academic. I asked a friend. He said no. Said, yep, no, you don't have the profile for that. I just don't. And like I 100% agreed with him. I thought he said it in a little bit of a rude way, but it was fine. Like I was like, yeah, no, I don't have the personality for an academic. I could never see myself in no, I'm not. That's just not me. It's not me. But I also, because of my last experience, know that I'm not interested in being in administration. I'm not interested in teetering on that line and of business and I have my feelings for education are too strong to allow me to reduce my beliefs of what you should do, like ethically speaking, and where investments should go, and the priority of what schools should be focused on, for me, should always be 100% honest, 100% ethical, all the time, transparent with teachers, with students, everybody, 100%. Like zero tolerance for like unethical behavior. And then also everything should be revolved around the learning experience, classroom experience. Because if students like it and you prioritize it, I can't really see any way that it would not grow. Or at least you would have loyal students. It might not be big. You might have to expand on your offerings, which would be fine. But yeah, if it's something that is quality, like you're providing a quality service, and that's your main priority, the quality of the service is your main priority. Not the size, not the quality of your service. And if you're making a profit, I can't get off that hill. That's the hill that I'll die on. So I think you just need to provide a good service and that's it. So I think I'm stuck in the practitioner world, which is, I'm not even stuck there. I'm happy to be there. So I will always be surrounded by teachers and students, which is kind of fun. But finding something that's going to improve that learning experience and be kind of in my horizon for CPD is the journey that I'm currently on. I'll figure it out, but those are my reflections. I don't know if this is helpful for anyone, if it kind of clarifies maybe my rationale of why I say what I say and why I do the things that I do. I don't know if you even care, to be honest, what I do. But I do think that some people need to figure out kind of like, what space do you want to occupy in education? There are other spaces. I mean, like there's other things. There's materials creation, but still, like even if you're creating materials, I still think that you're in the practitioner category, like because you have a connection to the classroom, a very direct impact and connection to students and teachers. So, you know, there's like other job functions. I'm not negating that at all, but I think that everybody just kind of falls into one of these three. I respect the academics. I love the practitioners. It's the space that I feel the most comfortable. I'm just going to say I understand the administrators. I'll leave it at that. All right, that's it for today. Talk to you later.